question coming from the comments section. Can I fly the H145 in the Alps? Yes, you can. Here we are. Can we fly altitude? Yes. Can we fly mindful of real weather conditions? Can I get the readouts about the real weather into the cockpit of the H145? Yes, and what's more, you can get a terrain readout as well using radio altitude, and that means that you can thread your way through the valleys. Thread your way through the valleys, round the mountains. It's really exciting. We're going to go on a mission. I will take you to 20,000 feet, and we'll also fly through some horrific weather conditions in order to deliver a patient to a hospital. So welcome to the Flying Doctor channel. We will get you there. Let's geek into it. So the first thing I'd say to you is look in the manual, although I'm not sure if the manual's available if you haven't bought the helicopter. So we're here to help and support you, and happy to do so. But a lot of the questions around the H145, I see it constantly when questions are asked on Discord, which is excellent, by the way, but also people will be, refer you and say, look, it's in the manual, it's in this page. Now, in terms of understanding the limits of the aircraft, if you wade your way through the index section, you will find that there is a quick reference handbook. And if you click on that, you'll find your way straight through to the references that you need to see. And as you can see there immediately at the top, maximum speed for starting and stopping the rotor, and maximum relative wind speed from any direction except headwind, 30 knots. And then just below that, maximum operating altitude, 20,000 feet PA, that's pressure altitude, and maximum operating altitude for takeoff, hover and landing, that's again 20,000 feet pressure altitude, or DA, density altitude. All you really need to know about that is that the aircraft is going to be impacted by, for example, the temperature and the air density at higher heights, and those things can obviously vary. So once you start to reach that sort of 20,000 feet altitude, there can be a difference in what the helicopter is experiencing. That's the key. So you might be at 18,000 feet, but in relative terms, you may as well have the helicopter at 20,000 because of how it's being stressed out by the environmental conditions. So I hope that's helpful. The cold weather down to minus 30 degrees Celsius, as you can see, but there's also a cold weather kit which will allow you down to minus 45, so should not get to any difficulties there. Look at what's already on offer with the NAVD page. Now here what you're seeing is actually a terrain readout. I'm pretty confident it's that because the weather readout looks different. You can see here that the aircraft is centered, and you can see around that you've got some green areas and some red areas. That looks to me like a terrain map. The red areas are the terrain that is higher than the helicopter within the sort of 500 feet. The reason I'm showing you this is because just down at the bottom there's a button called WXR. It's just above the crosshairs here, and WXR is an overlay of the weather, and you can also get an indication of when the unit's not able to get data as well. So I'd include that, as well as, yes, looking at the GTN750, and there's details on how you can download that. You need to download it anyway alongside the H145. It comes in two versions. You'll need to purchase the paid for version. Just follow the website in the menu down to the download page, and you'll get to this, and you can see Premium here, and you can see it's got terrain as well. Also got Navigraph charts that you can link in with it too, which is really helpful. So this is an excellent unit, and I've done a good number of tutorials and refer to this as well. Also, I'm going to Flightsim.to to have a look at what additional scenery I can find. I've got a paid for account here. Actually, I really did like Flightsim.to's approach because it gave you 1 month, I think, 2 months, 3 months, something of that kind of order. It might have been 6 months, but it was for limited access. If you're like me and you have 3 months where you don't do anything, and then suddenly you want to really get into downloading material, community packs, whatever, you can do it. It seemed quite efficient. But I typed Alps in, as you can see here, and there's a good number of add-ons that I was able to download. And one thing that I would say as well, if you're going to do this, just make sure that you follow the directions through. Most of the downloads are straightforward. You just put the folders in your community panel, but you will need to install additional libraries. So one of the add-ons I installed was Helipad in the Alps volume 3.1, and you can see that these pink little files here are the additional files you need to download and pop in your community folder, or wherever you store your community add-on. So don't forget to do that. And it's a lengthy, well, it's really rewarding because some of these sceneries are stunning. Once I'd started the sim, I was really pleased to see that I was able to find, by just putting in XX21, for example, the airports that I'd loaded before. I say that shouldn't really surprise us because it should be a feature within the sim. That requires a particular marker there in the first place so that the sim picks up on it. Looks absolutely beautiful. It's interesting here because you get the airport, you get visibility, time, wind and altitude. So we're 6,864 feet above sea level, but this next little thing on the left here, you can see maximum altitude 20,000 feet for your aircraft, and whatever aircraft you'd fly, it would indicate that. However, it's not really going to fly very well with its tail stuck in the foliage, but never mind. But relieved to be able to open up the aircraft and see everything working because I just updated these 750 units. Now, I was really keen to try and set the live weather, but the only way of setting the live weather is to set it in real time. And that was a little bit difficult because the minute it went into real time, as you saw there, it ended up going into complete darkness. So I was trying to experiment with the weather conditions and see if they are showing. And very early on I could see them showing, but the visibility we picked up on the GTN750, that's the lower unit on the left there I'm referring to, that wasn't quite as clear before takeoff. That's because we're sat and the terrain all around us is blocking the radar, I suspect. On the GTN 750 you've got a number of shaded options, and the developers are continuing to work on this, but the weather option is nice and brightly laid out for you and really easy to find. If you just click on that, you'll find you'll get into the weather. So you can see the terrain button on the right hand side gives you a really good idea of how you might be able to thread your way through the region. So you could see the scale, you can see the terrain marker just on the right hand unit there. On the left hand side of the right hand unit it says terrain, and it says red, yellow and green. So obviously green you're less worried about, but if you're approaching an area and you're in the red, that's a big warning for you. And obviously the black areas down there are telling you that's the way that you've not got any obstacles. This is the upper display. You can see just below at the bottom you've got a little tab called WXR, and on the left hand side here, so DMAP is the selection for the middle one, and NAVD on the left hand side. They give slightly different readouts just in terms of detail, but you can see that I'm quite convinced here that these aren't lakes, these are pockets of rain, I suspect, and I can switch those off and on. So there's two ways of following the weather. The question is, will this allow me to enter into terrain where the weather is getting increasingly bad, and will I pick up on it when I'm flying? For the mission itself, I then reverted and thought, well, let's have some snow. So I set it to snowing, and I thought, well, we're wanting to fly up to around about 20,000 feet just to test things. But what I actually did was I put a cloud layer in, so around about 17,000 feet, as you can see there. I've just adjusted by putting to the bottom of the cloud layer, moving up. But around about 17,000 feet, you'd hit a cloud layer. So just as we're moving through to 20,000 feet, we'll pop out of the cloud. Set it up a mission, actually went for a mountain accident. I thought that would be handy, and I picked 5 to 10 nautical miles just to give me a bit of time. Here's the target I selected in the end, and I accepted the dispatch. Well, what was really interesting was if you go to the third button down on the right onto the layers, you can get the topography, and that was really helpful because it actually demonstrated, as you could see there, I could see, oh, clearly I am in a higher area, and if you zoom right in you can see the isoburst. So up quite quickly as we fly away and on with the mission. So yes, as promised, testing right up to 20,000 feet here, and everything kind of quite stable. It was interesting that as we approached that altitude, the aircraft began to sort of struggle. I'm there right on the maximum there. If you can just see, if on that main flight display, you can see that the collective is in the yellow. That's the left-hand dial. So we really are pushing really hard to get to 20,000 feet. And I thought, well, I want to carry on with the mission. So at this point, I've flown, and I'm actually, the target is not far away. But I thought, let's just go up to 20,000 feet. So there we go. And then just slowly looking to drop things there. But yeah, quite stable there at 20,000 feet. You can see some of the peaks coming through in the distance. And there's a bit of an external view for you. And yeah, so it looks lovely, bright and shiny. There we are above the cloud layer. Oh, does look nice, doesn't it? So flying in these conditions, we're much further down now in terms of our altitude. Flying in these conditions was really, really tricky, and you were using all of the instruments at your disposal to find a way ahead and to double check that your altitude was right. As you can see just on the bottom left there, the weather display on the radar has quite naturally come to life, and it is fluctuating, it's changing. I'm having to follow it, and also the terrain readout is really helpful. But here we are, just trying to find our way to the target, which was a considerable challenge. And eventually we found the accident site with the plume of smoke, still needing to use that plume of smoke there, and we're just indicated to fly above the site and switch to hoisting when we're ready. But again, yes, very, very challenging in these conditions. And so we actually flew around, and the reason for that was wanting to just get a recce on the route, but also to make sure we are pointing into the wind, or just to have a look at the wind conditions around and see which is going to be the best route in. So the winch up was pretty simple, as you can see it going here. Roger wasn't too impressed, of course, because you've got to get out in the cold, and it was freezing cold. The one thing I didn't mention earlier is I set it to around about -15 degrees Celsius, but the weather also, even though you program that in, I put it into the weather settings before, that it still decreased through the flight. So maybe the height of the aircraft, that's obviously going to make a big difference, isn't it, as well? But we were on about -20, so it was freezing out there. So poor Roger had to go down and rescue the person, but you know, he's a nice guy after all. He's usually not too grumpy, as long as he has some cream for those kind of harness issues that he's dealing with. But we should see him just coming up right now. I don't know what. There we are. There he is. There he is. And there's our casualty as well. We're actually quickly getting into the aircraft. And then the rest of it, as you've seen from the missions before, is really sort of straightforward. Asked me to pick a local hospital, which I do. And then the route coming in is challenging. The route coming in is worth watching, though. And we'll show you that, because the conditions do change. So another really nice example here, looking down at the readouts on the 750. So bottom left, you can see the weather we're contending with. Bottom right, you can see the flight path as we're threading our way through, and you can see how that tallies on the tablet on the right there. We do face some really challenging and changing weather conditions. Decided to snow at us. I think I did have it snowing at that lower level, so we kind of encountered that on the way, but obviously we kind of came out of that cloud layer and that bad weather, and now we're entering into it, and we're sort of flying down, and just below us on the right is a nice little valley. Really, really beautiful. There's some good scenes here. I do use Rex AccuSeason, and I find that it's a really good add-on. I do believe it provides me with a better vegetation than is available in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, just a stock. So this, I really enjoyed this, but I really there's a good feel of 3 dimensions in this as well, and which I thought was good. Also, I threw some lightning in there just to get us quite excited, and effectively, although I'm pretty sure you wouldn't do this, we are flying into storm. So yeah, here in particular, coming over this sort of this peak here and looking around, you could really sort of get a sense of depth into the valleys, and able to look behind me as well. And yes, you can see just in front of you, just watch this weather, it starts to get worse as we enter into it. And so we're closing in on the weather now. You can see the cloud layers coming through. Yes, let's have a look and see how things degraded. It's a really good shot there. Just bottom left, you can see the weather that we're approaching. If we just we'll look up in a second, you see it's down, but also bottom right, you can see the route that we're threading. See the difference there? You've got either side of us, if it just shoots down, just have a look. You've got that yellow. Green hardly exists. It's green, then yellow very quickly, and then all red around. So you've got these peaks around you as we're flying our way through. Really nice kind of view there. And then if we've gone closer, we're just even closer to the edge of the storm there. You can see at the bottom, and you can see with the peaks, we're just about okay in terms of, we'll finally just kiss the side of what looks like the range there on. But yes, as you can see, the weather's getting progressively worse. Now by now I've identified where the heliport is. It's pretty much the first marker that you can see in front of the nose of the aircraft. But you can see here just this wonderful transition coming out. If you're looking to simulate, just see how the scene just emerged out of the mist there as we're going around. And I found this was really kind of kept me on my toes, because a lot of the visual references that we'd use, I was using in the simple examples of finding the heliport. They're nowhere near to be seen. So you're looking at altitudes all the time, just thinking, oh, hang on a sec here, you know, where am I? What kind of approach do I need to make? And this is pretty much sitting over the hospital I'd usually be expected seeing it. The only way I can see the helipad there is because it's got, I didn't even know there was a helipad. I couldn't even see it there at that point. I was still searching around for helipads, so I'm just losing some altitude there and looking to come round, try and work out the best way in. And there we are. If you can just see the discoloration there, you can actually see, I missed it first time around, but you can see that is the flare, that the conditions are that challenging. So yeah, we'll just have a look around, and I thought I'll just fly around and return back in, and there we go, and just turn myself in, ready to take a look. But you can see just how challenging that visibility is. So there we are, and then thinking, okay, and then I suddenly saw, you can just see there, helipad is there. So yes, quite a challenging landing. You can actually see, if you look very carefully, you might miss it, you could see the snow blowing as the helicopter was coming down, which is interesting. And there I am trying to make my way to what is a generously sized helipad compared to what I've landed on before, but still struggling. I think I don't muck about here. It's not a kind of landing that's enough to set off warnings in the helicopter, but it is a landing that is rather firm, shall we say. So there we are. And that hint again, you know, try and place the helipad just below your feet in the window, and remember to move the aircraft forward because the skis are right underneath you, so you actually want to be looking at eventually onto the edge of the whatever marker it is you're landing on. So there we are. Yeah, as I say, didn't muck about there, kind of yeah, more Vietnam than anything else, I reckon, but there you go. And then it's a case of a simple switch down as usual, and the crew will get out and unload the patient. And it still amuses me to this day that they just put him at the edge of the helipad or in the middle of a field and let other people deal with it. But yeah, that's not quite the point, is it? Not quite the worry. So hope you enjoyed that. Sorry, I hope that the re-record worked better. I'm talking to it. I'm not talking to it live, of course. But yes, so in other words, is it possible? Yes, yes, yes. And actually, I think a really good addition to your aircraft collection if you're wanting to fly in the Alps and you're wanting to be really challenged and you're wanting all of the stuff that I've said before about the H145 holds really well, but it's really good to see that weather unit working. Okay, take care folks, and stay safe, and hope Roger's able to look after himself and all those swords. He needs to apply that cream, otherwise that harness gets to him. But here's our man just dropping our casualty out. Okay, take care, stay safe. Great to be with you. Don't forget, subscribe if you're not subscribed. It means a heck of a lot.